Hi folks, welcome back to our mind map course. And in this last class on this course, we will study about study techniques. So to study is not just read something, it's not just to attend a lecture, it's not just to watch something. It goes beyond this. It is a process that needs planning, it needs practice. So we will go along in this class a little discussing the proper techniques and especially the reviewing techniques. If we study we don't review periodically, we will be losing most of what we have learned. Because as we saw in our class about memory, our brain loses a whole lot of the information that we acquired in the next 4 months if we don't review what we have studied. In 4 months, we lose about 90% of what we've learned. So it's a waste of time to study and not review it. So we will see when to review and how to do it. Studying is a 5-phase process. The first phase is to localize, to find out where the material that we want to study is. The internet, books, professors, lectures. So we have to localize where the material is. The second phase is to explore this material. Once we found it, we have to explore it. And to explore is like to travel inside of the material and to get to know the material that we are about to study or we are studying. And the third phase is to organize this material, to organize to set it in the proper order by relevance. So once we have found, we have explored, we have organized, then we go to the next phase, which is to reinforce. To reinforce is basically to review, to see what we have not learned so well that we need to study more, to study a second, a third time. So we need to reinforce what we have studied in order to keep it in our mind, always fresh in our mind, so that we can recall whenever we need it. And the last phase of studying is the evaluation, is to evaluate what we have learned. Tests or quizzes or the best way of doing it. But if we don't do it, the world around us will evaluate us. If we are a professional, our clients will be always evaluating us. So to evaluate is a process that we can do ourselves so that we will have a good evaluation by third parties, or we can leave it up to the third parties to evaluate. But we will always be evaluated, and what we know, what we think, what we are is always being evaluated by ourselves and by other people. So these are the 5 phases of studying. And in order to study, we have also to prepare for the study, to prepare ourselves, to prepare the material, and prepare the space where we are going to study. So the first phase of preparation to study is the spatial preparation. So it's the place that we are going to study, where we will be when studying. We should pay attention to the level of lighting in a place. If it is too bright, it will be uncomfortable the same way if it is too dim. The ventilation, if the place is cold, it's too cold, will be uncomfortable. In a short while, you will be paying more attention to the temperature than to the material you are studying. If it is too hot, also, if it's too warm, also. The proper temperature, the temperature that we feel more comfortable, the level of comfort. So if the chair we are sitting on, if it is too hard or too soft, so we should pay attention to this. If it is too hard, it will be uncomfortable, and we won't stand it for very long without paying attention to our uneasiness, and that will get us out of focus of what we are studying. If it is too soft, it might invite us to sleep a little bit. So we have to find the proper level of comfort. And also noise. If it is a place too noisy, it's uncomfortable, we have to pay attention to this. If noises, they are repeated all the time, they are continuous and monotonous, that won't disturb us very much. But noises that change all the time, like a TV, like a radio, and things like that, it might distract us. So if you like to study and listen to music, that's fine, as long as it is not in the radio or music on the TV, because what comes next is unexpected. But if you like to listen to music while you're studying, you can do it. There's no problem, as long as it is something that will not be having commercials or things that will distract you. And always disconnect the phone. Always have the phone disconnected. Just put it in silent mode. Next, we have to make available all the material that you will be needing to study and while you're studying. So we should make available paper, pencils, pens, color pens, the material research, the material you want to study, if it is a book, if it is a brochure, and have a watch. So, and set about 45 minutes and stop for 5 and return for another session of 45 minutes. Your performance will be much better if you do it this way. The last but not least at all is the mental preparation. How we prepare ourselves mentally to study. So we take the material, we take a look at it. If it is a book, see the book casually and quickly, but see it. And you should observe the conclusions, the summaries, if there are many illustrations, and if there is many footnotes. About footnotes, if the material you're reading has a lot of footnotes, you should read the first 5 footnotes and see the relevance of it. If the 5 first footnotes are not relevant and to complement what you're reading on the main text, you should just leave it for the rest of the study. And you should also determine how much time you're going to study, if it is 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And you should determine to yourself, let's say you decide to study for 5 hours. You say to yourself, I'm going to study for 5 hours, because we have the Gestalt, and the Gestalt is what makes the brain want to complete a task. And so we will be using the Gestalt in our favor. So you determine the time and the quantity of pages and until when you're going to study, and determine intervals. The intervals, when to stop. If you're going to study for 45 minutes and stop for 5, or 50 minutes and stop for 5, and so on. But you have to make an agreement with yourself and then let the Gestalt do its work. And you should also ask questions. If the study material that you're using has questions, the first thing you have to read is the questions, even if you don't know how to answer. Why? Because when we ask questions beforehand, we pay more attention, because our brain will want to answer those questions. So you should ask questions every time you're going to study. What do you know about this? What would you like to know about this? And then you should write a summary of the study that you're studying. Another thing is how to underline, what to underline in a book or in a brochure. First, you should underline the key points, not underline everything. About 3 to 4 key points on each paragraph. Then you should mark after reading. Don't do it while reading, because you do not know the relevance of it in the whole context. So you should read a paragraph, and then after reading you should mark. After reading you will know what is the importance for the general context. You should mark only the specific keywords. Choose a noun as keyword, and the second choice would be a verb, and the third choice would be an adjective. If you come to something that you didn't understand, you should write a question mark on the margin, so that later on you will come and see if you still don't understand or if you did understand. If it is something that caught your attention, is very interesting, make an exclamation mark. If it is something that you want to return, you should mark with an asterisk. So you will find your own marks and keep them, so that you will know what they mean, and use different colors for each one of them. The question marks, it's always one color. Exclamation marks is always the same color, and the asterisk is also in certain colors. I myself always do the question marks in red, the exclamation marks in green or blue, and the asterisks always in black. So by doing this, I know what they mean. The publishing company, they devised the margins on the books for proofreading. So the proofreaders, they marked on the margins something that they noted on the text. And that's why we have margins on the books. And we should also use for that purpose, so to write comments, insights. Some of the insights that we come about, that we have while reading, they will, if we don't annotate them, sometimes they never come back again, and they're lost forever. And some of them are very nice. and we shouldn't lose them, and we shouldn't miss them. And then you transfer all these annotations to the summary, the mind map that you made of that material that you studied. And remember the curves of recall. If you study for a long period of time without stopping, you will miss most of what you have studied. And remember, the fuel that the brain uses is glucose, water, and oxygen. And we find it everywhere. Everywhere there is glucose, water, and oxygen. And we should make use of that also. But don't overdo it. Don't eat too much sugar before studying, because that will certainly make you drowsy and sleepy. Don't forget to drink once in a while studying, because your brain will work better if it is well hydrated. And oxygen. Before studying, you should avoid too much sugar. Carbohydrates are not good for your brain if you're going to study. So you should be well nourished, but not over nourished with sugar. And summaries. Summaries are very important because they are the result of what you have studied, and probably you will be using the summaries, your summaries, as the material that you will review afterwards. They are the material that we'll be using when we want to review. So these summaries, they should be summarized. This, it seems like a joke, but it is not. It's one of the most difficult things to do, is to have a summary that is summarized. Some people just write and write and write in such a way that they can't use what their summary is as a reviewing tool afterwards, because it is so dense, so vast, and so confused. And the information should be in a hierarchy. It should be in order. It should follow the hierarchy of relevance. What is important comes first, what secondary comes in second place, and what's tertiary comes in the third place, just like we learned when we were studying the mind maps techniques. And it should be open. What does it mean to be open? It means that you can complete afterwards. If a new information comes in, you don't have to redo the whole summary. You can just add the new information in the right place. You don't have to redo everything. So this is, saves you time, and saves also all the information that you studied before. So it will be possible for us to update it anytime that a new information comes in or a new understanding comes in. It should be creative. It should make you more creative. The information that you acquired should be used as the basis for a creation. One of the reasons that we acquire information is to use it and to apply it in a novel way. And it should be associative. So it should allow us to associate the different parts of the information and making it a whole. And easier also to keep in our memory. And the summary is personal. You can even lend it to someone else, but it's your own summary. It's the way you see that information. It is a picture of how you acquired that information. So it's personal. And the great secret of studying and keeping the information that we studied, the subject that we studied, is reviewing. You should always remember to, if we have studied for, let's say, for 2 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours, you should allow time for 10 minutes after you stop studying. You should review the material that you have just studied. Review the whole thing. Review everything that you studied. And you should review that information on your summaries. So your summaries should be very effective. That's why mind map help you so much, because they're easy to remember. They follow a hierarchy of relevance, and we have chosen keywords that represent the ideas. So when we see a mind map, if it's done properly, they will bring back much of what we have studied. And if we come to a point that we don't remember quite well, if it's not whole in our memory, we should re-study just that and update the mind map so that it will reflect the whole information, and it will help us to recall that information. So a good summary will be an excellent tool to remember, will be a mnemonic tool of the information for recalling all the information. Do a second review 24 hours afterward, after studying, and schedule a third review 1 week later, and a fourth review a month later. By doing that, you will keep the information fresh in your brain for a long time, because by doing this, you will be storing the information in your long-term memory, not in your short-term memory. And remember the von Risdorf effect, that in a 2-hour study session, we will recall more in the beginning and the ending, and the middle will be lost, or will fade away from our memory real quickly, unless it is something that's very different, like the word Washingtonian that I told you about. Once again, I want you to remember that if you study for a long period of time without stopping, you will recall just, if you study for a long period of time without stopping, the first 15 to 20 minutes will be of great performance. If you really want to improve performance, your ability to recall the information, you should not study for a long time without stopping. You should study for about 45 minutes and stop for 5, and then do that again as many times as you want. So about 45 minutes, from 20 to 50 minutes, you should find out which is your proper time. But usually for 45 minutes, it's the good studying period for most of us. And I really hope that your performance, your ability to learn more and to take more out of the information that you have come in contact with, will be kept for a longer period of time, so that you will be able to recall the information, to improve your memory, and to feel more confident about what you have studied and you have learned. Thank you very much for being with me throughout these classes. It's been a pleasure for me, and I hope it's been good for you also.